kind of hysterical. Like, not in like a funny sense, but it's like a look at that. That's absolutely insane. And one of the sad things is that those stigmas, you're never really going to be able to get rid of them. But one thing that I think you're going to see in like the coming decades is, especially with this generation, is you are going to see kind of a shift in those, like, that ingrained kind of racism that kind of
I sure hope so, yeah.
under the table, I guess. Not under the table, but you know what I mean. It's not always obvious.
Mm-hmm. It's not spoken of because people know it's wrong now, which is a good thing, obviously.
Yeah.
But
and as the young people move in, which have grown up on the idea that racism is bad, as they grow up and move into those political positions, which again, you're always going to have a couple people in there. You know, hate is taught. It's a fact. Hate is taught.
For sure. Like our grandparents, for example, they were alive 62 years ago, and that's when segregation ended. Was 62 years ago. That's barely a snap of a finger in the time of like the entire world. It just changed like that, and now
it is crazy to think about how short of a time ago that is. But again, I mean, the civil rights movement, they couldn't have been expecting that it would be like an instant change, that things would get better from the get-go. Society is very difficult to change in that way. I mean, look how long it's taken for, you know, gay marriage to be legalized. Like a long time.
That was just 2014. That was not that long ago, and it's crazy because we still have these issues today. 3 churches were burned in Louisiana, and it was recently. It was just last month, actually, in 2019, and it was the result of a neo-Nazi hate group that burned these churches, and that just reminds me of the civil rights era in the 60s, that Birmingham church was bombed, and it's crazy today that we still have hate crimes going on, like in Sri Lanka. Really anywhere, just all across the world. It's not a strictly American thing, unfortunately.
It's kind of crazy to think about, you know, how these companies, they pollute so much, like, to the point of it being kind of ridiculous. You know, it's at a very, I don't know what I'm talking about. Hold on, sorry.
No, you're good. It's like, it's not really the responsibility of normal people anymore to like help conserve the environment when the 90 largest companies in the world are responsible for 50% of carbon emissions.
Yeah, that's where I was kind of going with that. It's like you have these companies make so much money, and it's like at a certain point, I'm kind of surprised that they don't worry about like a cleanup effort.
Yeah.
Because that just looks bad. Like there's like surveyable evidence.
Exactly.
Of the kind of pollution that you can cause. That it seems to me like a company would actually do something about that at that point, because it's like, oh god, even if it's not completely genuine, you can do it for like marketing reasons.
Go on the right time, be on the right time, never feel the stress of the wall. I can mess, I'm uptight, do it right the first time, get me off my mind time. Grew up in the suburbs with my brothers and my mind. We can see the flip side, what comes after this try? What comes after this try?
Since the Industrial Revolution and like the creation of the super material plastics, emissions have risen at a rate that's just like crazy, like unprecedented throughout the past millennia. 95% probability that it's caused by human activity.
Whoops.
Yeah. So the ice caps are melting and it's our fault. all the people who voted on the new abortion law in Alabama and Georgia were 25 white men. No uteruses in there, in that little thought decision process.
Which is a little strange.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, I think there was one woman, but obviously she voted no, so she voted against the law. Shocker.
Yikes.
So, that being said, there was a case around 1973 called Roe versus Wade, and it was a woman fighting for the right for her private abortion, obviously. And that was secured up until recently by the Constitution. And unfortunately, states have the accessibility to overturn this law, like we're seeing in Alabama, Georgia, Ohio. And it's really unfortunate, but the country as a whole can either enforce this law for the states or let states have what they want, which is probably not the ideal situation for women.
I'd say so. There are a lot of factors that can play into why it's a smart idea to get an abortion. Financial reasons, medical reasons even. Sometimes you're not, actually capable of having a baby. Or maybe it's something that would maybe it's like a life-ruining situation where it's like, I really can't do this right now.
And it really doesn't even need to be justified for, like, women just can do whatever they want and they need to have control over their bodies. But,
I'd say that's pretty fair.
Yeah, that's pretty fair.
Yeah.
Especially if, like, this fetal, like, embryo is just a clump of cells for one, and then...
If I, as a man, am allowed to, get a vasectomy, or, like, as a woman, I can, get my tubes tied and can't have kids, and I think
Abortion's
it's also pretty fair to get an abortion,
Yeah.
because maybe you don't want to have kids right now, or you can't, or, maybe it is just your choice.
Yeah,
you don't want
to let a kid into a world that's not ready for its, like, affordability and whatnot.
Kids are taxing in multiple senses.
Yeah, for sure. It's a hard road to have a child, and I think it should be the parents ready for that, not.
It is kind of their call at the end of the day.
Yeah, and the fetus doesn't even have, like, brain function yet if it's still inside the body. Yeah,
it's just a homunculus. It doesn't really feel anything.
Yeah, and if we can pull the cord on someone who's clinically brain dead, then why can't we do that for an embryo?
Having talked with a lot of people who are actually pro-life, their argument is always, well, you're still killing a child. You're still taking a life, and if that is your case, then what do you do about, like what you just said, people who are clinically brain dead? It's like you're still taking a life,
exactly.
Right? So, but they seem to be okay with that whenever I bring it up. So it's strange.
Yeah. There was an article actually I saw recently, and it was like, it said something about embryos based in the lab, like created from just like science.
Oh, yeah?
Those they have no problem with throwing away, but they have a double standard obviously when they're regarding women and like inside the woman's body, and I feel like it's just
Which that case, I actually hadn't heard that until just now.
really, yeah, I can show you the.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
That's an interesting moral and philosophical.
That's why I feel like it's more about control instead of the preservation of life. And I think it's ironic that they call themselves pro-life and disregard children in foster care, immigrant children being separated from their families.
Yeah, it is pretty interesting.
In states like Alabama and Georgia, abortion is now considered a felony, which is also ironic because, like, in the instance of rape or incest, the people who are committing this crime aren't even allowed to, or like aren't even like given sentenced any jail time, barely, like literally like 2 years max for just like a full-on crime, and then women trying to dispose of like this horrible reminder of this crime committed against their existence is you can serve up to 99 years in prison. Isn't that shocking?
Yeah, that is really weird to think about.
It's
That
really
doesn't
messed
make a whole lot of sense.
Exactly, and it's funny because it's a law now, and you think that America would be going forward after all this time, but that isn't the case.
You know, we've taken a lot of steps forward, but it also feels like we've taken a couple steps back, especially with
The
things
recent
like that,
years,
and
yeah.
that hurts a little bit to watch,
It does.
to think about.
It's a very helpless situation because it's not our state. We can't really vote on these laws happening to other people in our different state. But it is a good responsibility to have as a citizen of America to show your beliefs through voting, because then in that case we can prevent stuff like this happening in the future.
Yes.
And
yes.
I'm looking forward to the upcoming years because more millennials, more I think Gen Zers will be able to vote in these upcoming elections to have more of a say, and I feel like our generation is more radical than the silent generation or the baby boomers growing up with segregation.
Definitely a lot more liberal,
Yes.
which isn't really a bad thing necessarily. That does get thrown around, tossed as an insult a lot, but things like abortion, that's
That's
not a
human
bad thing
rights.
at all.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's unfortunate to actually see people so against it that it doesn't feel right at all.
Shout out to my mom. I hope I look as beautiful as my mom one day. I know I could be right with this. Waking up, I don't be mine, my shit. I don't mind my